I stand here humbled, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America. For decades, that divide between the few with their power and comfort in Washington and the rest of us only widened. From Iraq to Afghanistan, from the financial crisis to the Great Recession, from open borders to stagnating wages, the people who govern this country have failed and failed again. President Trump represents America's last best hope to restore what, if lost, may never be found again. A country where a working-class boy born far from the halls of power can stand on this stage as the next Vice President of the United States of America.
Well, let's go straight now to France 24 Fraser Jackson, who is at the convention. Fraser, we've just listened now to JD Vance, and it was a real introduction about his life. But there was also reference to America First, NATO, China. Could you talk us through some of the key issues he spoke of during his address?
Yeah, well, JD Vance has now officially accepted the nomination, having been nominated by Donald Trump on Monday. He started by thanking and praising Donald Trump. He said, "We need a leader who fights for the people who built this country, who answers to the working man, union and non-union alike, who will stand up for American industry. We need President Donald Trump." He then gave a roundup of his life and why it's made him eligible to be vice president. That poor upbringing in eastern Kentucky and Ohio. His mother struggles with addiction. She was actually in the audience as well. He gave her a shout out, as it were, and said that she'd been clean and sober for 10 years. Him and his mother then becoming visibly emotional. That got a very big applause from the crowd. He talked about his time at university and repeatedly then bashed President Biden and Kamala Harris. He called Biden a corrupt Washington insider, touted Donald Trump's seeming accomplishments while he was president, and said that Donald Trump was the president for the everyday man. He then focused on the future. He touched on foreign policy. There was not too much about that in his speech. As we all know, the Americans don't tend to vote too much on foreign policy, but he did mention various touchstone issues that Donald Trump himself has raised, things like NATO, like Iran, China as well. He also mentioned trade tariffs. That is something which he's actually gotten a bit of backlash for in the past, but he has a bit of an interesting take on trade, which some foreign analysts believe could in fact impact the global economy as well as the United States' economy. So whether that will be a campaign promise he can fulfill should they get into the White House will be something we'll be keeping an eye on as well. He hinted as well, like I said, at those tariffs, but also boosting American companies. He said that multinationals needed to be walked away from, and that American industry is what the president needed to focus on. He also said that they need to expand U.S. fossil fuel production as well, walking away from that green energy, he called it the green energy scam that the Democrats are putting forward. That got a big cheer from the crowd, with them then chanting "drill, baby, drill," a reference to something Donald Trump said at a rally a few months ago. He said that he will be a VP, a vice president who never forgets where he came from. And that ultimately is the message that Donald Trump is hoping to take forward from this, and take forward by choosing Vance to be his vice president, a man who can talk to the people and who also can relate to the people as well, especially in those key, crucial battleground states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan as well. Those are the places that Donald Trump is really focusing on, because he thinks that is where Joe Biden is getting closer to him than the other battleground states, and that could be where it's won and lost.
Fraser Jackson there.